Hello and welcome. My name is Nazir, and today we'll be learning about the pen tool. With the pen tool, we can make drawings and tracing, although we'll cover tracing later. Today, we'll focus on using the pen tool and the curvature tool. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Let's begin with the pen tool. As you can see, it looks like a pen. With the anchor point tool, we can make modifications. It's quite easy to draw with the pen tool, although some people may find it challenging. But with a little practice, you'll get the hang of it. For example, if I just click, you'll see that a line is attached to my pen. It's just guiding you on where the line will tether. Now, if I click here and then there, it creates a line. And this line will continue to move as you click your pen. So, if you go back to the point where you started, you'll notice that as I come here, a small circle is indicating with my pen to close the path. Keep in mind that as long as it's open, it's just a line. But once you close it, it becomes a shape. Remember, we keep everything in shape so it can be filled with colors properly. We didn't cover the topic of fill in colors, but we will discuss it later. Today, we will discuss a little bit. I am now going to select and delete all of these. To delete, you can press either the backspace or delete button. Additionally, you may have noticed a small indication. Now, to use the pen tool for drawing, remember that my smart guides are turned on, which will continue to assist us. As I click, you can see that the smart guides allow me to snap the line to be perfectly straight. However, if you want to make a straight line without the help of the smart guides, you can press the Shift key. As you can see, my cursor is moved, but the line remains straight. By holding Shift and clicking, a straight line is created. Using this method, I was able to create a triangle with the pen tool. If we want to make curves, remember that you need to hold down the mouse and drag. For example, when I click here and then click again without releasing the mouse, and drag, you will see a curved path is created. Keep in mind, the curve is always created in the opposite direction. For example, if you want a curve on the right side, you should drag your mouse to the left. As you can see, I am dragging to the right, and the curve is created on the left side. Now, let me repeat it for you. So, let's say there's a straight line from here to here. And, from here, I want a curve on the left side. So, what will I do? I will click here and drag to the right side. We have now created this curve. Keep in mind, the pen tool will not leave you until you press the Escape key. If you do not want to continue drawing and want to keep it as an open path, simply press the Escape key. Your drawing will stop right here and it will convert to a line. Now, I am building some more things. One more important thing to note is, if you directly drag here and make a curve, observe carefully. This is one curve handle and this is another. The handle is curving this part. Even if I close this, the curve will still remain. Later on, we will see why closing curves is important, but for now, if I don't close it, the handle will curve the incoming line. At this moment, I didn't drag anything or click the mouse button. The line is automatically giving a smooth curve. And, if I simply click, it makes a curve by itself. If I want a corner here, not a smooth curve, then I need to close this handle. How to do this? Simply go to the last anchor point with your pen tool and click again. As you click, your curve handle will be closed, and now you can make this line with a sharp corner. Alright, let's create something. If I simply click here and come down while holding the Shift key and drag to the side, I can create a drop of water shape. If I then join it to the first point, you'll see how smooth the shape is. Now, if I want to create something that needs sharp edges, like a knife, how can I do that? Let's find out. For example, if I want to create a knife shape, I'll click here like this. Make a little line, then click here and drag it. Now, in order to create a sharp edge here, I'll hold the Alt key and click on this point, which will convert it to a sharp edge and the incoming line won't have any curve. Then I'll join it with the first point. This is our knife shape. Keep in mind that when building with the pen tool, it's not necessary for it to be perfect the first time. You can adjust it later with direct selection. For example, if I select this point, you'll see that I can edit these handles later. So, it's not a big issue. Let's set it aside too. Some shapes are symmetrical. Symmetrical shapes are shapes that are the same on both sides. Symmetry is a type of balance. For example, the human face and body have many symmetries. Inverse symmetry can be seen in things like a butterfly, where one wing is on the left side and the other is on the right side, or in an apple that is cut in half, where both halves are the same. To create these types of shapes, it's best to make a copy of one half and reflect it. This is because it's difficult to make the shape perfect by hand, and it's not necessary to make it perfect. I'll tell you how to do it, but first, I want to mention something else. Rulers. What are rulers? If you press Ctrl+R, it will give you rulers on the left and top sides. The purpose of rulers is obvious, measuring, but another interesting use is that you can change the units of measurement. How? Simply right-click on the rulers and select your desired unit, such as points, inches, centimeters, pixels, etc. But I won't be changing the units today as I don't need them for measurements. Now, let's talk about the ruler on the left side. If you click and drag it, you'll see a thin, fine line appear. This is called a guide. Keep in mind that by default, these guides are unlocked. In previous versions, guides were locked by default. You can check if they're locked or not by taking the selection tool, then right-clicking. You'll see an option to lock or unlock. To add guides, simply press Ctrl+R, or go to View, then Rulers, and click Show Rulers. I am now going to use the pen tool again and start from the guide. The purpose of starting from the guide is to ensure that my vertical points stay at the same level and in the same axis. This is important because when I reflect and place the other half of the shape, there may be gaps in the middle. I do not want this to happen. Once I have completed one half of the shape, I will press the Escape key. Now, using the Selection tool, I will select the half shape and right-click. Under the Transform option, there are many options for reflecting objects which we will learn in more detail later. For now, I am just going to choose Reflect. This will mirror the shape the way it is seen in a mirror, with the opposite side showing. By clicking Reflect, a small dialog box will appear where I can turn on the Preview option to see how the reflected shape will look before I confirm it. If I press OK, it will only reflect the Part 1 built. However, I want to generate a copy of it instead. To do this, I will click on the Copy button. Now, I am dragging the copy of the shape with the Shift key pressed, and placing it next to the original shape. As you can see, our shape is now complete. However, there is a small issue. The shape created here is not actually one shape, but two separate lines. If I want to merge these lines into one shape, I will have to do that separately. To delete guides, first right-click and select Unlock Guide. Then press Delete. Remove rulers by pressing Ctrl+R. Now, let's move on. In order to join these shapes together, I'll need to use a different method than grouping. In the last class, I explained that we can group objects together to make them one object, but that's not what I want to do this time. Instead, I want to merge them into a single object, just like welding or joining solid things. This will make them a single object permanently. To do this, I'll need to select these 2 points using the Direct Selection tool. Remember, direct selection is important because I need to join these 2 points only. If I use the Selection tool, all the points will be selected and it won't join them, and will show an error. But before joining, I have to do a tiny bit of work. I have to merge them. I'll stop here for a moment and explain about joining. I'll put this aside for now. Let's say I have 2 lines and I want to merge them from here. I'll select both points, right-click, and select Join. See what happens? It made a line between them, and obviously it was joined, but actually, I didn't want it to look like this. I wanted to join them on a single point, like in a rectangle or square's corner. If I do this with the two lines, it adds an extra line, which I don't need. I want a sharp corner here. For the corners, I need to bring them closer, right? And now, as I click join, it's still not correct. By zooming in, you can see that one point is here and the other point is here. It's still not joined properly, so the problem persists. What's the solution? We need to bring them as close together as possible, just like when you merge something with glue. Even if you join haphazardly, you're still merging. So, to join them, we need to bring them closer together. Use your mouse to bring them as close as possible. Then, select both with the Direct Selection tool, right-click, and select the Average option. This will align the points in one exact place. It will ask you if you want to align the points on the horizontal or vertical axis, or both. Select both and you will see that both points are now in the exact same location. Now, if you click Join, it's done. If you select the points with the Selection tool and use the Average option, the shape will disappear. This is because the Selection tool selects all the points, and when you use Average, all the points come together, leaving just one point. This is not what you want. To avoid this, use the Direct Selection tool to select just the points you want to average and then click Join to convert it into a single point. So now I am working on the heart shape I made. I am bringing the different parts of the shape together by zoom in. The Smart Guide has helped me to some extent, but I am still clicking on Average for assurance and then Join. Similarly, I am repeating this process with the other parts of the shape. And now, it has been joined into a single shape. You can fill it with any color or gradient that you like. If it wasn't joined, you would still be able to fill it with color, but there may be gaps that could cause problems. I suggest that whenever you are making shapes, you make sure to join them. Alright, and that was Average and Join. Now, let's create another shape with the help of guides. Press Ctrl and R to show rulers again. Go to Left Ruler and click to bring Vertical Guide. Let's make another shape. I am clicking on the default Fill and Stroke. Now, I am drawing a spade suit, as you've seen in playing cards. Alright, as I said, we can edit it later if needed. I feel this part got too large, so I am going to select these 2 points with Direct Selection and push them upwards while pressing Shift. I am selecting this whole part, right-clicking, going to Transform, then Reflect and Vertical. If I were doing it horizontally, it would become the opposite, so I simply need that, not even at any particular angle, just reflecting vertically and clicking Copy. Obviously, I am moving it while pressing Shift, since both are on the same axis, so it won't create any problem. Here I selected both points, clicked Average, and Join. Simply, that's it. Now the below part. Average and Join. Done! Another shape is built, and I'm filling it with a dark blue color. Now, you may be wondering why I'm building such plain and faded designs. But trust me, it is important to understand these concepts before moving on to using colors. By default, you will have a white fill and black stroke. You can turn off the stroke or fill at any time by clicking on None in the corresponding section. Keep in mind that if you turn off the fill, the object may not be visible if it is on a white background. But don't worry, the path is still there. Also, if you want to change the colors, you can simply double-click on the color you want and select it from the box that appears. In this box, you can also adjust the hue, saturation, and brightness of the color to achieve the desired effect. And if you ever want to swap the fill and stroke colors, simply use the small tilt light tool above the fill and stroke boxes and click on Swap Fill and Stroke. There is also a tool for adding gradients, but we will discuss that in detail later. For now, just know that it is important to understand the basics of fill and stroke before adding colors to your designs. I hope this is clear so far. Now, if you want to select a color, simply double-click on it and choose from the selection here. Let me explain this box a bit. The hue is shown here. You'll see that there's a radio button turned on here for H, S, and B. If you want to check the hue, you can see it here. Hue refers to the pure color, such as blue, red, green, and yellow. So this is red color. The hue is the same. You can see that you have different options for how dull or sharp you want the color to be. Saturation is the intensity of that color. It's how much intense the color is. To explain further, brightness is how much you want to darken or lighten the color. But remember, it's all about colors. So, I am picking any color, clicking OK, and the color comes here simply. Similarly, if you go to stroke and double-click, the same panel comes to you, and you can select any color from here. So, that's it. I believe you all have understood the functions of the pen tool by now. Inside the pen tool, there's the anchor point tool, which we saw in the last class. Next, just below the pen tool, there's the curvature tool. In previous versions, you may find it under the pen tool. The curvature tool's function is similar to the pen tool, but it is now easier to use. You don't need to click, hold, and drag it. It simply creates curves on its own. For example, I clicked here and clicked there, and as I progressed, you can see that it automatically creates a curve. Now, if I apply it to the fill, you can see the result. Of course, it also has anchor points, so if I use the direct selection tool, it can be adjusted easily. You'll get the same handles, but the curvature tool provides curves in a more intuitive way. So, that's it for now. Today, we've seen how to make basic shapes with the pen tool. I hope you all enjoyed it. Remember, it takes time to become an expert with the pen tool. When you click and drag the pen tool, it can be a little emotional, so it's best to move your hand lightly or you might lose your artboard or find your canvas vanished. Press Ctrl 0, and all your data will reappear in front of you. That's it for today. In the next tutorial, we'll see how to do tracing. I hope you enjoyed this video.